Welcome, everybody, to the Indie Game Lunch Hour by the Indie Game Academy. Today, we are talking with the founders of Ludorya Studios about evolving gameplay mechanics via iteration.
The Indie Game Lunch Hour.
Welcome all game dev adventurers to the Indie Game Lunch Hour, our live magical podcast where we give game developers the chance to hear stories of breaking in from industry experts, as well as directly ask them questions about their areas of expertise in the second half of each episode. As always, I'm your host, Willem Delventhal, the founder here at the Indie Game Academy, and joining me today is the entire founding cast of Ludorya Studios, the creators of The Box is Alive, and one of our three very first Foundry team members in the Indie Game Foundry. So joining me on stage are Nabil Uwada, Teja Batar, and Kido Jung. Nabil here is a producer and developer, Teja 3D artist and level designer, and Kito gameplay engineer. Welcome, everybody. What are you having for lunch today?
So far, nothing.
Yeah, pretty much same. Just had breakfast. We're planning to have some smoothie for lunch after this.
Amazing.
I'm going to have some pizza after this.
Okay, perfect. And for those who are listening to the recording, Kito may sound a little muffled. And that is because Kito is currently wearing a box on his head. Kito, before we get to our typical first question, which is the origin story, can you tell us why you have a box on your head?
Because our game is all about box being alive.
Indeed.
Okay.
So y'all are working on the game The Box is Alive. Why don't you give us a little elevator pitch of that so that we have some context for this box hat?
Sure. Basically, when it comes to The Box is Alive, it is a physics-based puzzle platformer where you control a cardboard box. We're supposed to try to make fun of shipping companies. You wonder sometimes how a box is taking a week or a package taking over a week to get delivered. Well, in this game, you are the reason. So you use physics to roll the box around, use the flaps to be able to jump. It's fully physics-based. And the challenge mainly lies in you mastering the rolling, the jumping, and gliding to get the box safely to its destination. We plan on setting you out on this big journey where you control this one box, save some others, and deliver yourself from the starting point being the factory of let's say shut down Amazon all the way to your destination. So
Amazing.
Yeah.
So to be, if I'm not correct, the narrative here too is kind of Toy Story rules, where this box is actually
In a
literally
way.
alive. Yes.
Yeah. And we even thought of a new mechanic because of Toy Story that we might add humans as level design obstacles where if they see the box shuts down and can't move, sort of like how Toy Story, the toys sort of die as soon as humans are in the scene. So we
Yes.
do plan on doing perhaps this as a mechanic as well. But yeah, Toy Story is definitely relevant, I would say.
amazing.
So good call out.
So yes, Ludorya is one of our three studios moving through cohort 0 of the Foundry program, in which we are helping them launch the game studio and then bring their game to Kickstarter. So The Box is Alive will be live on Kickstarter somewhere around October, and then will be launched for realsies somewhere around March of 2026. I have just dropped the link to their Discord in the chat, and I will put it out for those who are watching via stream. So join their Discord, and you will be able to play test the game, give some feedback, and help make this ridiculous game a reality. Now, we have gone in a bit of a reverse order in this episode, and that is generally we start with the origin story of our developers. As always, we're indie game developers, and so many of us are wondering how other devs broke in. So could we get the origin story of each of you, maybe a rapid fire version since we have three of you, for how you got into games and how you got to where you are today?
Okay, I guess I'll start. I've been always very passionate about it. I have a background in software engineering, but never really cared for the industry, if that makes sense, software engineering as a whole. So, I don't know, I want to be happy, and I feel like games can be the one thing that keep me happy and keep me going in life. So, I just decided, I'm not gonna curse, but you know what I'm gonna say. But basically, I just said I'm gonna do it, and I quit my job, and we all are part of the same master's program, and that's how we all met. We did masters in game science and design, which is around testing games and gathering actual data and think of behavioral economics for games in a way, be like psychology, data around that when it comes to game design. And like that was my first time getting into it. And like I worked in UI design for I don't know if you know the company called Implicit Conversions, but they work with PlayStation to do the emulation of classic games. I worked for them for one summer. That was like my first bit of taste of the gaming industry, but now I'm back into software because of how the industry is with entry level.
Mhm.
So I kind of just want to take the horn by the what is it? The
Bull
the
by the
bull by the
horns.
horns. Yeah, yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah.
Yes.
I want to take the bull by the horns and be like, let's just make a game that we can be very happy about and that we actually want to play. And like that's what brought me here, I would say.
Love that. And you
Yeah.
are Nabil, is that correct?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
Just to make sure that listeners, when they're listening after the fact, can place the voices.
Yeah.
Tejo or Keto, you want to get your origin story in here?
Yep. I'll go next. This is Teja. Uh, Similar to Nabil, I had my undergrad experience in engineering, but I did it in electronics. And pretty similarly, I knew as soon as I was done with my undergrad that that's not my cup of tea. I cannot see a career in that. So, and I've even when I was in electronics, I always wanted to get into game industry. Maybe even by making consoles, get into Sony, do something that is related with gaming industry. And I was like, I want to switch careers. I was like, yep, why not? I can give this a try. And one thing led to another. I ended up in Boston to do my master's in Northeastern Game Science and Design, as Nabil was mentioning. That course was pretty good blend of player experience, the
Generalist.
science part of it, and design. And I think like that kind of shaped up my perspective on how to make games. And us three being from the same program, I think like we are pretty much on the same page when it comes to things like no iteration, how we view the playtest data. Like it's like liquid gold, to be honest, for us.
Yes.
So yeah, like we share that common ideology within us.
Amazing.
And yep, here we are with IGA making our game finally. And
Woo!
yeah,
I can't
Keto,
wait for the
go for it.
boxes alive. Yes,
Oh,
yeah, and Keto wearing a box on there.
Hi, I'm Kito. So my undergrad, my major was computer science, and there's one day I've been doing homework. It's pretty late, and so I went to sleep, and I'm in a dream. I'm still doing my homework. I wake up and I was like, not doing that anymore. I want fun in this box. So here I am making video games.
In a box.
Yeah,
in
I
the
want
Amazing.
this box filled with the fun.
I really hope so. When you guys do your GDC talk and when you get interviewed on, I don't know, Good Morning America about the boxes alive, I really hope you do uh, continue this tradition and wear your box as often as possible. Yeah. Also, Wendy wants to know: did Keto lose a bet, or did you just self-elect to be the box head guy, Keto?
I self-elect. Like I like making handcraft things. That's why I make this box.
Amazing. All right,
Okay.
so let's jump into the topic today a little bit. So in the Foundry program, one of the things we do is we're just there to act as advisors. So I get to meet with these guys at least once a month and talk about their game. And one of the things that's been really fun about the Boxes Alive as a game designer myself is to iterate on especially the control schemes, but how the entire
Yes.
game works and functions. And this game, I feel like the magic is really starting to be there. The game is really starting to sparkle, and that y'all, besides some tuning, are really at a satisfying final input control scheme. So, can you tell us a bit? Can you give us an intro, first of all, to just how the Boxes Alive plays and how iteration made its way into that process?
Mm. Like we all started with Taja's idea, who wanted to make a cube sort of move, and then the box came in, but it all came from Taja's initial idea of trying to make a cube move with actual physical, like physically accurate movement of like rolling, based on the direction and stuff. So we started with a small prototype, and Like, I don't know if you guys can see this, but this is my glasses case. And like, this is what I physically use to figure out how to prototype the box. Like, I literally look at it, and from there, I'm like, should I add a force here, there? How should I calculate this, that, you know? So we started with that. Uh, we use, like, for quick prototyping, we did go on a lot of forums to try to see what would be the best way, and we did use some ChatGPT here and there just to figure it out, get a quick prototype out there. But we did definitely use our own code all throughout. Uh, like, I don't know if you remember the prototype we sent, Willem, at the start of the application. It was
Yeah.
like barely working, if you
Yep.
remember. And like the playtests that we do have at IGA do help us a lot on coming up with the next iteration of what we do, and hearing live feedback of people matters a lot.
Mhm.
Like, just to give you guys an example, our first prototype, our first playtest, the box had a rhythm-based movement. Like, you couldn't just keep rolling, pressing forward, if you guys remember. We had to like click each time, and that frustrated the hell out of players. So
Especially Willem.
just based on that one feedback from some players, we were like, this has to change. We need to make sure people actually feel like good using the box. We got to make it feel physically accurate to what a box would feel like in the real world in a way. So we changed the whole control scheme. We changed the whole way of how physics work. And we just kept retesting. And coming from the program we all went to, we are very keen on surveys. We focus a lot on the data we gather, and we try to ask accurate questions over what we're trying to do. And based on that, we tweak our values a little bit here and there each time. And yep, I agree with Rick on what he just said. Like, you learn which way to not walk, and that's what we learned with our prototype version 1 for sure.
Yeah.
Like, we had a lot of constraints on the player, and as we playtested more, we discovered that players want to feel free when it comes to the movement of the box, and it's sort of what we are striving for now. Like, we want
Yeah.
the player to feel empowered as a boxer in a way, but still have a level of difficulty that is balanced.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I-
just to add to it, just before the podcast, me and Nabil and Kito, we were talking about it, and we just acknowledged how we've moved from our first initial prototype to the movement that we have right now. And like most of it is down to the playtests that we conducted. And thanks to IGF for those
Yes, big time.
in-person talking with the playtesters. I think that helps a lot more than the surveys, getting to know the person. And
Mm-hmm.
I'd feel even for the playtesters, talking to the devs and giving feedback in real time is more meaningful. And I think that is what has given us goals every week, every
Yep.
couple of weeks to, keep working on it, keep working on it. And I think like right now we are almost at a satisfactory level.
Amazing. Yeah, I think what is unique to this game, so the 3 games in Foundry are Whiskers, Wizards, and Wands, which is a sort of
Mhm.
Zelda-like puzzle solver, top-down isometric adventure, Daughter of the Rift, which is a narrative-driven sci-fi deck builder, and then you guys with Boxes Alive. And I think what is unique about your game is the iteration has all been about input, has all been about making sure that this game plays satisfactorily in its most base form, moving the boxes, fun. Which there's a sort of simplicity to that I have found very satisfying as I jump in and consult with you guys and just hear your process. Can you tell us a little bit about what iteration looks like? How's your process actually work? Is there obviously the playtesting is a huge part of it. I
Mhm.
think to call out some of the lessons we've already learned from the Ludorya team. Playtesting should be a regular part of
Yes.
your production process. My cadence that I have always liked is to have playtests scheduled every 2 weeks on the dot.
Yes.
And then all playtesting data is good data. No matter how much your players hate your game, that's actually a good
100%.
thing. As long as they're not trolling you, as long as they're not just jerks,
Mm-hmm.
it is valuable data no matter how much they hate what you have going on. So tell us, like, what is your iterative process like? How do you actually identify that some information you've received from a playtester is worth listening to, and then
Mhm.
how do you design for the next version, let's say?
I can take this. So firstly, when we had our first playtest, our initial reactions were or our expectations was to just see how the players perceive the movement and are they having fun. After the first playtest, what we understood is the element of chaos, running into stuff, just doing random stuff, breaking things. That is what was engaging the players. That is what was appealing to the players, and they were having fun in that aspect.
Mhm.
So that was a common theme we observed in with all the playtesters we had. And so we went back to the drawing board and we were like, okay, this is what we need to focus on, the chaos factor. And for that, we need to give the players more freedom in terms of movement. We can't restrict them. We can't make them work hard to just move the box. So we ditched the earlier idea of our movements because like that is where I would believe the game started from on our idea of how a box could move, like the initial rules and that slight nudging that we had initially, the charged nudges. But we hooked on to this, the chaos factor. We could see what was uh, uh, pulling the players into the game, letting them have fun. Like, we could see players were laughing, having fun, even when they were failing at it. So we grabbed onto that. We made the movement easy. We removed the rhythmic movement. We just let the players do whatever they want. And it got to a point where now the player can jump with the box and even glide with the box. So I'd say in all the playtests, we were focusing on what's working for the players, what's hooking them in the game for a while, and also what we thought would work and is not working. I think that
Mhm.
is one of the main factors because whenever we go into a playtest session, we have some things that we've worked on, few new mechanics or few uh, level design stuff, maybe obstacles or things like that. But once we get into the game, once we see players playing it, it's completely flipped on its head. Like we're like, okay, we didn't expect this because we keep playing it while we're
Yeah.
working on it. So we have a certain set of muscle memory of yep, we'll do first this, then this, and this. But seeing the playtesters, it completely brushes aside all your assumptions and it gives you a clean slate. Like, yep, this is what they're having fun with. So this is
Mhm.
what we need to focus on. So yeah, I think that has been our process so far.
That's fantastic.
I
I
would.
think it's a yeah. I think it's
No,
simple.
go for it.
Yeah, I think it's simple. It's a simple answer that I actually find a lot of junior devs skip, and depending on your department too, even more experienced devs can skip it. Game designers in particular are sort of game designers, and then like user researchers, especially if you're at a really big company, are tasked with understanding the user and spending time with the user and seeing how the user behaves and plays. But I think one of the things that's nice about an indie team, a small team, is that all of you are interfacing with the users. All of you are playing and hanging out with the users. And what you're describing from my perspective is basically, well, we sat down, we had them play, we saw what delighted them, and we doubled down on that. And I
Yes,
think I think
100%.
that's yeah, that's the formula. No matter what your game is, remember that you're not building a game for you,
Hmm.
unless you are. In which case, don't be upset if other people don't like it. you
Yeah,
know,
I agree.
if yeah, if you're building a game for an audience, then of course the audience perspective and the audience's joy and fun is king, is paramount. That's what is
Hmm.
important. That's why you're building the game in the first place, to make something delightful for other human beings. So spending that time to just see what they like, see what delights them. The chaos is really engaging, but ooh, the control schemes over here they're finding more
Yes.
frustrating than fun. That really is what answers the fundamental questions. And I think as game developers, there's so many other ways for us to collect data, and there's so many other ways for us
Hmm.
to iterate. But the most basic, the most tried and true is give your game to a human being, see how they play, double down on what delights them. I like that you guys are following that.
And I think getting it in hands each time that have never played it even matters a lot as well. Like we're not trying like some users do really well at the game. So we're like, okay, great, but like my opinion, like
Evan.
we should always try to get new people with their hands on the game. See
Yes.
how like if tutorialization is better, if people understand the controls off the bat better now, if everything feels easier to do. I think that also matters a lot.
Yeah, I can agree with that. So I know that you prepared a couple of topics
Mm.
for this podcast. Is there anything that you want to jump in on here?
Like I would say, like as you said, we should keep player experience first. Like it's more so still within the realm of like what are our 101s when like building this game so far. Like these are lessons like we generated out of our experience so far at the IGF. I would say like we should always be open to modifying or shifting an idea. Never really get married to it. Like for example, with us constraining the movement at the start, we wanted it to be more of a challenging game. We should always be ready to iterate and even change crucial aspects we had in mind for the sake of the player experience, because we want that experience to be always number one.
Mhm.
Like we want everyone to have a great time. And other than this, like as you asked before, like what is feedback we keep, what is feedback we don't keep? As we said, like we do focus on what was the main thing that was hooking the player, but sometimes it is also important to be true to yourself and enjoy the process.
Mm.
This game is how we communicate with the audience, and players can feel what we are doing through the game. If we are being sloppy and cutting corners, the player can see this. And if we do our best and like really try to iterate on some stuff, like players will appreciate at the end. So I don't know if this makes sense, but be true to your ideas and iterate with the sake of the player in mind.
Yeah. So this is one of the age-old challenges of
Mm,
game development. I've said before, I think in our classes, probably it's one of my favorite metaphors that I view
mm,
game development similar to carving stone, actually, or
yes.
carving anything really. And there's a concept that comes along with carving where you don't actually quite know what the carving will become, and that the carving itself sort of tells you what it wants to become. And for those who haven't carved anything before, that's because oftentimes the material will kind of take you in a direction. Like if you're carving rock, sometimes a chip will break off that you didn't want to break off. Maybe you lose an
Mm,
arm or something, or you hit a hard spot and you're like, okay, well, I guess I'll incorporate this hard spot somehow. Or you just gouge a little too deep, or something happens so that it doesn't quite become what you were envisioning in the first place.
mm,
Probably some of what you envisioned winds up in the final piece, but it winds up taking on its own demeanor, its own characteristics,
mm,
its own personality. And I think that that is extremely true of game development. When I was young, when I was doing my first professional job in games, I was a little bit petulant about working on other people's designs. I was like,
mm,
well, this isn't my game idea, and I was kind of a bit of a jerk about that. But the reality is, like, as you get further into game development, it is all about, as you suggested, asynchronous communication. It is all about delivering
yes.
something delightful for somebody else, and it's not for you. And the earlier you can incorporate that and believe that, and then make your game development process mostly about making something delightful for other people, the better, I think. However,
Mm-hmm.
you mentioned something here, which is a challenge that I have myself, and I think every game developer since the beginning of time, no matter how much experience they have, still has, which is like, how much do you listen to the player needs versus the original vision? So how do you guys balance that? You have your
We
own ideas of what Boxes Live is supposed to be, and then your players tell you what they think it's supposed to be. How do you balance those 2?
Honestly, we test. We try to prototype quick and we test. That's one thing we try
Okay.
to do a lot. Anytime we hear suggestions, like whenever any of us in the team are trying to pitch any new mechanic or any new idea, they have to sell both the other members, if that makes sense. Like,
Uh-huh.
if not all of us are sold, that is something to like think about, I guess.
Mhm.
Uh, I honestly think working with teams, like if not everyone is sold, no genuine work would come out of like the next iteration or the next sprint, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Because how are you going to sell an audience on something if your team is not sold on it first?
Mhm.
Uh, but if we think it is worth
Yeah,
doing, we honestly try to prototype it quick and test it.
Okay.
And based on that feedback, we would see where we would go with it. But Teja, go ahead.
yeah. No, I was just gonna say that whenever we get some feedback, uh, that is not what we were thinking on. Like, could be completely contradictory to what we
Mhm.
wanted to have. We would just sit with it, think if this is genuinely gonna help the game, because definitely we would have our views. There would be some sort of a bias because we've been working with the project. We've been working on the project for quite a while, so it would be difficult to let go of anything. But when we get something that we see as a pattern, like maybe not just something one playtester sees, but we've recognized a pattern that okay, this is not working, and this is something the players would need. We would genuinely give it a go. Like Nabil
Mhm.
said, we'll make a prototype of it, and then we test it. We'll see if we are liking it, and most of the times we kind of try to shape it in a way it satisfies the players as well as satisfies us, because we can't be making a game that we don't believe in ourselves. So
Mhm.
we get it to a shape that where it satisfies both the players and us, and we test it out in the next playtest.
Hmm. Okay. So here, Keto, I'm most curious about from you for this one. So with rapid iteration, one of the dangers or just difficulties of rapid iteration is changing code bases. It's hard to create something structurally sound with a moving target. If design is changing because you went and did a play test, then you're going to have to change your actual architecture. So Keto, how do you program in a way that allows you to rapidly iterate? Are you
Keto, we
are
can't
you
hear you.
thinking? Yeah, are you muted maybe?
Sorry,
Oh, okay.
I'm just thinking.
Okay.
I don't know.
On screen, we're all just seeing this box shift side to side with a little smiley face on it for those listening. The box is not alive, says Winding Wizard.
uh, the question how I adapt the fast changing request.
Yeah.
So like when we writing codes, we never delete our old method. Sometimes it just come up and we can use it for the new mechanic. So yeah.
I can
So
help with this as well, but we always try to keep our old code as well, and we do use a repository like Git to create new branches every time.
yeah.
We definitely try to keep old versions of the game at all times. So whenever we try something new and it's not the place to go, we definitely revert back. And you know, we always try to comment old code, maybe keep it in case we're gonna use it sometime, or like we will need to reiterate on something, some aspect. Uh, that works. And I think I try to always, when it comes to developing anything new, we try to keep it within a modular fashion where we can attach it or remove it automatically without needing to have to change everything within a code base every time we
Yeah.
add something new. Keeping things modular is definitely efficient and probably good for the long run of any game. Uh, one talk I definitely recommend that would help with this, how to keep a structure good, is the GDC talk of the development team that worked on Kerbal Space Program,
Hmm.
on how the initial design for the game was keeping everything modular for the sake of development, how they implement the spaceship, how they implement everything. That talk helps a lot for you to like build a game and add stuff. Like just keep it modular. You can drag stuff, with something into a component, remove a component quite easily instead of having to change, for example, one variant within the code that needs to change, or one check that you have, having to change it across the whole like prefab instead of just being able to drag and drop it because you made it modular and you made it its own script that is within a manager or something. That definitely helps a lot. Keeping things modular helps a lot.
Amazing. It
That's
sounds like
what
a
I would
bit of the
say.
mentality. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a great like message. It sounds like a bit of the mentality is also just letting go of work.
Yeah.
Sometimes the play tests prove that you were wrong and you revert.
Hmm.
And that's
Yep.
okay. That's still I think it's really easy to feel like that's wasted time, but it's not. because that time that you spent working on something that changes into something else was required for you to get to the something else in the first place. So it's a part of the work that was invested into something else.
Yes.
So it's not wasted time. Letting go of code and art for that matter, and designs for that matter, are all good things. And especially when you're first starting out, it can feel frustrating because you're like, man, I put all this time into this thing and we're not even using it. But first of all, that happens all the time on every team since the beginning of time. And second of all, yeah, try to shift your mindset, I think, from this is wasted work to this is work that was required for me to get to the next version of the system.
You learn a lesson each time. You learn something new each time. And it makes the iteration for the next thing easier, in my opinion, as well. Once you're like, okay, we did this to make this happen. We didn't like it as much, but we understand how to get to this stage now. So we can iterate based off that as well. You do learn.
Amazing.
You do learn a lot.
So I will. We're going to move into comment questions here in just a moment. The Box of the Live team, of course, needs playtesters, as we just mentioned. So if you would like to be one of their fresh playtesters, join the Discord link that I'm dropping one more time here, and jump in, give your feedback, and you can become a part of the development of the Boxes Alive.
Yes.
Now, I believe that y'all have a question of the day for us. Is that correct?
Yes. Question of the day, I would say, like, our whole game is this is not the homework. This is more so question of the day, but our whole game is about taking an animate object and bringing it to life. I would ask everyone, like, if you had to make a game about an inanimate object, what other inanimate object being brought to life would be hilarious? Or, like, what would be the funniest protagonist, in your opinion, as an inanimate object?
Amazing. So we're going to move into community questions here in just a second. But for those who are in any of the live chats, answer the question of the day here, and the team will pick their favorite and give a couple Indie Game Academy House Cup points to their favorite as we go. If you are listening to the and give us an explanation, tell us what it is, and then give us like a sentence of how you would use it and why it would be funny. And then we're going to move into comments of the questions. What am I saying? We're going to move into community questions. While people are writing in their answers, if you are listening to this episode, feel free to still participate in this exercise and just speak out loud. What is the inanimate object you would use? All right. So I think, Rick, we're going to get you up on stage for the first community question. Rick, would you like to hit us with any of those three to start us off?
Yeah, sure. So this game reminds me a lot of I Am Bread. And so that's a rage game. So I'm really curious, who is your target audience? Who are you building this for? The kind of person who enjoys that rage game kind of mechanic?
I would say definitely people who do enjoy games like I Am Bread and I Am Fish. That is sort of the like where we got viability for building this game, because this inspired us a lot. And I feel like right now, not a lot of games sort of represent this kind of vibe where like it's an absurd idea, just take it and have fun. Like go play, go do absurd stuff, jump here, jump there, break this, you can glide as a box. Like just taking ideas out of context when it comes to normal objects and letting it happen. Sort of like how I Am Bread did it first. We are aiming for those people, definitely. And we think this game could be very easily streamable, perhaps as well. So we are aiming for those people who would have big reactions to like gameplay moments. And I'm a big fan of platformers as a whole. I think if we can get a sort of nice platforming vibe out of this game as well, where like you would learn to master the triple jump with the box. I don't know if you tried our latest iteration, but we're gonna have a new build next Monday. But you can sort of trigger a triple jump if you master the rolling. And I would love for people who also enjoy platformers as a whole to be able to enjoy this game as well. Like that's what I'm aiming for as well.
Feels very Goat
Balance is it.
Simulator.
Yes.
Yeah, I'd just like to add, Ambred is a very good example, and something similar that we are kind of aiming for in terms of gameplay experiences. Human Fall Flat could be another, like using the physics in game to let the players just figure out how to get from point A to point B. Like you use the jumps, you use the wall to knock yourself onto something else. Like we just want to players, just to experience it, experiment with different mechanics, and just have chaos and fun.
So are you leaving the mechanics like more open-ended so that you can get like crazy speedrun moves and stuff?
Yes,
Yes,
for
yes,
sure.
speedrun
Yes.
definitely. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's something we do have.
It kind of occurs to
And
me actually that in some ways there's Breath of the Wild inspiration.
yes,
Um,
I was about to bring
yeah,
this up, but yes.
nice. Yeah, so one of the things that was so unique about Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, why it was such a foundationally different kind of Zelda game, is because instead of having hard puzzles,
One way solution. There's no one way.
exactly. Yeah, there's no
Yes,
one way. All the mechanics they came up with were things that you could use in many different ways. And I feel like that's a bit of what you're going to. So like high creative players, players who
yep,
really want to solve problems their own way is part of who you're aiming at here.
I agree. I agree. There's no
All right.
one way to beat a level.
Yes. So we have a bunch of answers to our question of the day. So I'm going to read a couple of them quickly and y'all can pick your favorite and give them some points. So Amani here says a mirror, you would get different abilities based on what you're reflecting, and your biggest problem would be getting cracked. Isaac
Oh,
says, I make a game about a Daruma doll. It could be a cool puzzle platformer thing.
oh,
Abram says, a plastic cup of orange juice with a bent straw, similar to Shake from Aquatine, but the juice would be your HP. Some levels you don't have a top, and it would require you not to spill your juice.
nice.
Christy says, this could be because I'm eating popcorn, but the first thing that came to mind was a piece of popcorn who yearns to find itself on a plate at a gourmet restaurant. And I think there was at least one more. Rick threw us 3 options: a toilet, a bedroom fan, or a fridge.
Hey.
What do you want to give points to? Oh, and Cheru, sorry, Cheru, a vending machine that judges your snack choices. All right. Which is your fave there? What do you want to give some points to?
I just want
Personally,
to
I would
ask
say
this question.
mirror.
Go for it, Teja. Yeah, I like the mirror a lot too.
Yeah, like it's very interesting. Like the idea of maybe having powers, different abilities based upon what you're reflecting. I think that's interesting.
Yeah, it gives you a lot of. I think that it implies a lot of gameplay, and I think that's one of
Yeah.
the things that has been really cool about watching you guys iterate. For instance, the gliding mechanic and the jumping mechanic. Everybody, for you to know, in the boxes alive, is the flaps on the top of a typical cardboard box flying open. So if that's facing the ground, they fly open and therefore project you upwards, and that's how you jump in the boxes alive. And then later they were like, well, if the boxes are like holding outwards, couldn't you like glide with them? So a lot of the mechanics in the boxes alive are actually just based upon like, well, what would a box do? And I think the
Yes,
mirror has a similar amount of creative potential.
I agree.
Awesome.
I just
All
wanted
right,
to ask
Amani.
this question.
Oh yeah,
The
go ahead.
Ruma doll, is that the Russian doll?
I'm not sure. You'll have to tell us, audience. So Amani has won the House Cup points then for their suggestion of a mirror.
Yes.
Amani, let us know if you would like to give those points to Ranger, Rogue, Cleric, or already told us. House Cleric gets 3 House Cup points. We're coming close to the end of this House Cup. We'll see which of the 4 houses takes it. All right. We have a couple of more
Nice.
community questions. The next one I'm going to read for Kevin. Kevin asks, do you have any plans to include mini games? Frogger comes to mind based on the prototype.
I would say we can easily make a Frogger type game based on the initial prototype or of rhythmic movement. Like that would be very easily done. And like we would like to add different modes to the game for sure, like a speed running. We are planning on implementing different boxes to the game, like a cubic box, perhaps an L-shaped box, different shapes for different ways of playing as different boxes. So, but when it comes to mini games, I think Frogger would be quite easy for us to implement. A Frogger type game with everything we have now, even we could probably make this happen. But other than that, I put this back in the original pitch, but I would love to make a sort of I don't know what you would call it, slapstick comedy where like the box is being launched and like you have to land it on the I guess the person who ordered it, and like the funnier the
Ooh.
impact, the more of a score you get, if that makes sense.
Wasn't there a racing game? I don't think it was Dirt. Maybe it was Dirt. There was a racing game where like
Oh,
you
motorsport. It might be
drove
motorsports.
maybe, and like your driver like flies out of the car and you have to like land it in targets and stuff.
Is it? I'm not
There
sure.
was a
There is
I can imagine y'all doing something like that is all I'm saying. It was
yes,
hilarious.
like that is what I meant.
Yes. Awesome. All right. Well, we have
Turbo
Rick back on
dismount.
stage.
Turbo dismount is
Turbo
the game
dismount.
that is Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, I
Yes.
want something with this kind of vibe as a mini game as well. Like you launching the box and getting some crazy effects on the person waiting for the delivery.
I love that. That's so funny. All right, we have Rick back up on stage for our third question. Rick, hit us with another community question.
Yeah, so you've been talking a lot about iteration and playtesting with
Mhm.
people and getting feedback. I'm curious if you're doing a lot of in-person exhibitions or if you have any lined up, and what the
Uh,
feedback has been on that.
I am going to the IGDA meetups in DC. That's one thing I'm doing in person to get natural feedback from people. But next month, I'm going to be in Toronto for my sister's graduation, and there is a convention happening in Toronto the second week of June, I think. And I do plan on going there and potentially, like, hopefully being able to get a booth for just showcasing the boxes alive and getting live playtesters to do it.
Nabil, are you doing the IGDA DC's Cherry Blossom Arcade?
Yes, I'm gonna be there. Yes,
Yeah, I was planning on hitting them up to show up too.
join,
We'll have to
come,
connect.
come. I'll be
Yeah,
there. I'm
That's
gonna
I
try
great.
to
gotta be
get Keto
Travis
to
anyway.
join as well.
And
Oh, excellent. Keto, you're local?
you can only come with a hat on.
Okay.
Keto is in New Jersey, but I'm trying to get him to visit.
Okay. Cool.
Basic. Yeah, by the way, this is another tip for the audience. If you are an indie game dev, a lot of those smaller local showings will be free or just application based. You
Yes.
don't have to, yeah, you don't have to pay to exhibit a lot of the time. So if you can find those local game dev groups, you can get a lot out of them. All right, let's get Rick. Why don't you just hit us with your third question?
Sure. So this game sounds really cool, and it seems like it's definitely a unique take on the I am bread concept. So I'm curious,
hmm
can you describe your final vision? Like when you get the things that you want in, what is the gameplay going to look like?
Like we want to be accurate in a way, like physically accurate to what a box would feel like if it was alive. Being able to do like whenever we think about mechanics, we take it a bit out of context. Like what would a box actually do in this situation? Like that's how Keto sort of came up with the jumping. We want to be able to nail all these mechanics. Like I want people to like. We had one comment from a playtest that told us like I felt like a baby learning how to walk when playing your game. And I think that's sort of the feeling we want to get out of people. Like we want people to play something new, something different. So when it comes to that, we want the movement to be the main attraction, being you being the box and causing chaos. That would be one thing. And when it comes to narrative, if you focus on the I am bread narrative, it is very subtle, but it is a very crazy narrative if you understand the whole thing. We want to be able to maybe replicate something similar as well. Like players can just play the game, but if they do focus on the little details, they would get a crazy narrative out of it as well. That's something we would want to potentially nail down as well. But
And
gameplay wise, the movement. Go
just
for it,
to
Asia.
just
Sorry.
to add, yeah, just to add, like our vision of the final version of the game is pretty much giving all the controls, all the power to the players, make them do whatever they would like to do, create some physics based obstacles around the level where we don't dictate the player to, yep, you need to solve it this way, this particular way, you need to get this jump exactly right. But we would love the players to show us, yep, you can do this as well. So that is something we've faced a lot in the playtest as well. We were surprised by a lot of things the playtesters were doing, which we did not think were possible. So that is exactly the vibe we are looking for.
I think that's
Players
what's
finding
delightful.
different things to. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Sorry. I think that's what's delightful about a game like this is, especially as a developer, like seeing like, wow, I had no idea that I could back up into this corner and somehow launch myself, 500 miles across the screen. Um,
Exactly.
those are fun moments as a dev. All right, we have
Yeah.
two more questions, and then we're going to wrap up for the day. The next question is from me, and it's for you, Keto.
Mhm.
Can you breathe in there? Are you getting lightheaded?
Yeah, I put some hope down there so I can
Some
breathe
holes.
fine. Yeah.
I see you holding the corner of it. So you're gonna need to make some kind of like strap system for the future so you
Mhm.
don't it can be
Yeah.
hands free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a little some
Mhm.
servo arms so you can pop the top open like you're jumping.
Right now I filled it up, so maybe I will. Yeah.
Something like that. Awesome. All right. Last comment question. This one's real. Is from Joker Faces. Joker asks, will there be different types of boxes, cardboard, styrofoam, metal, wood, and will there be environmental effects like frozen or wet?
Yes. We have different boxes in mind when it comes to shape so far.
Uh-huh.
When it comes to material, we haven't thought about it too hard because we are making fun of shipping businesses as a whole. So that's why it's been cardboard boxes for now. As you can see, Keto has a Amazon box on his head. So that is one thing. We are planning to play with shapes. And when it comes to environmental effects, yes, we would have water. We would have perhaps acid, fire. And we want to implement a sort of like the box, how it is affected by the environment will change the look. Like if a box is wet, the cardboard might look soggy, for example, or like if it's on fire, there might be a burn spot on the box. And even when it comes to the UI we want to implement, we want that to be showcased within the UI of the game. Like a bit of a spoiler, I guess. I don't know if I should talk about it, but like when it comes to UI, we want to sort of have a fourth wall breaking UI in a way. Like the game is obviously in 3D and it looks like a game, but we're gonna have a UI like where, for example, the health is a piece of tape representing like taping bandages or something, like for the box where you tape it down.
Huh.
And if the box gets wet, that piece of tape, based on how wet you are, will get wet. And like, you know how tape gets wet, it gets like,
Oh.
we're gonna have it like this. If it's
Keto's leaning
fire,
forward and showing us the tape on his box, everyone, just for the listeners.
Yeah, like if the tape is on fire, like the tape will slowly burn. If the tape is straight up like blunt damage, it will get ripped off. Like we want to implement this kind of UI that is
Interesting.
sort of realistic to contrast with the game.
So your health is a piece of tape, and the tape gets ripped off of the health bar and stuck to the box to fix it as you go.
Yes, in a way. Like the
That's
UI
genius.
and the box. Like the box itself would have its effects, but like as part of UI, we would have this piece of tape.
That's great. I
Like
love that as UI mechanic. All
yeah,
right.
like
Rapid fire answer to a last
mhm.
question from Misha. When you finish a level, can you see what's inside the box?
You gotta finish the game.
Ooh. Is it gonna be
Yeah.
like a big reveal? Is there gonna be some big like you'll find out you're shipping something horrendous or something?
You don't know.
That's
We
the
don't
idea.
know.
Like we are just tying it up with the narrative, but yeah, we are planning for a big reveal.
Joker Vases in the comment just said, "What if it's keto inside the
That would be funny.
And
Hi, I'm
you'll
Keto.
get to see
I
Keto
developed the
only.
game."
You'll get to see
Yeah.
Keto once you finish the game. Like, he'll make a
Wow.
face
Yeah.
reveal.
That's
Yeah.
the only way you can
Yeah,
see his face.
that's true.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. All right, so it is time for us to wrap up the episode. This has been a great chat. Before then, we like to do two things as always. The first is our homework assignment. So, what is
Yes.
something we can assign the audience that'll take them about an hour in the next week to practice some of what we talked about here today?
Okay. I would say when it came to us developing mechanics for this game, we sort of took a box and took it out of context. Like, you think of a box, you think of the usual stuff you would do with it as a human. Like, oh, I'm gonna put stuff inside, I'm gonna wrap it. Like, take something and take it out of context, and that's how you should try to come up with mechanics for a game that uses any object or anything, you know?
Amazing.
I don't know how a quick example. We have the box.
Joker's on fire and says, "You thought outside the box?"
Yes, basically, yes.
So
I'm gonna
maybe
put the question down.
yeah. So then maybe the homework assignment is to think of an inanimate object you might turn into a game
Mhm.
similar to this, and then specifically mechanics that could be in the game inspired by using that inanimate object in unusual ways. Is that true?
Yes, basically
Awesome.
taking it out of context in any way possible to create mechanics and try taking 5 objects you have anywhere and
Yeah.
like just spit out ideas. You don't know whatever you'll come up with. It could be something crazy. It could be something cool.
Perfect.
Like
So
yeah.
yeah, this is your game development practice homework, everybody. Improve your game dev skills. Think of 5 inanimate objects and what mechanics you might be able to add to a game based on those objects that are a little bit out of context. You can drop that on LinkedIn for us. That's how we know you did your homework. Tag the Indie Game Academy. We'll be all happy to see you. And then you can also tag Nabil, Teja, and Keto. Before we end, the last thing to do, Nabil, is to advertise. Is there anything you'd like to plug here? And then are there any last words of wisdom you'd like to give the audience?
I'm gonna plug the Discord, but like words of wisdom, I would say like keep doing the work, keep testing, keep prototyping fast if you can. And like if you want to ever get real feedback on something you're making, get somebody who has no idea what you're doing to try it first. Don't get friends, don't get, you know, people and family. Honestly, like people will sugarcoat. Get somebody who doesn't know you, doesn't know the game, and just give it to them and watch. No,
Yes.
no, what's the word? No backseat gaming. No backseat gaming when
Yeah.
it
Yes.
comes to playtesting.
I love to
know?
tell my students to shut up while they playtest. Just sit there. Take
Yeah,
notes.
exactly. Take it in, take it all
Yeah.
in, and like just use it. Use it as force for the next version. You know,
Yeah.
that's
Petunio
what
and
matters the most. Teja,
No, the one last thing. Make sure you have fun while you do that.
yes,
Because it gets lost sometimes when you're into it. It feels mechanical, but try to not lose that. Once you grab onto it, if you're having fun, I think that will reflect in the outcome as well.
Yeah. I've always loved that as a lesson in game development. It is fundamentally true that teams that have a good time while they make the
Yeah.
cake make better cake. It's especially true in game development for sure. I love that as a last lesson. Don't forget to have fun, y'all. It's definitely a stressful time in industry and in the world, and it can get easy to forget that making games is awesome. So don't stop having a fun
Yep.
time while you make your games. I also, would love to encourage everybody one last time to join the Discord here.
I am plugging
Drop the
in
link.
both.
Perfect. Yes. So join that Discord for early access to the Boxes Alive, to give your own feedback, to help create this game in a vision that you would be excited to buy and play. And of course, just to support your fellow indies. It's time for it, y'all. All right. Otherwise, that's going to do it. Ludorya, thank you.
Thank you so
Thank y'all
much.
for being here. Heck yeah. This has
Thank
been
you,
awesome.
IGA
Thank
and
you. Thank you
IGF.
for
Thank you
having
so
us.
much.
Always. We will see you again next week, Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. There are links to join down below as always. And for any of the links that were mentioned during the episode, such as the Discord join link, you can get that down below as well. Bye, everybody. We'll see you again
Thank you
next
so
week.
much, everyone. Have a good week.